All right, everybody. This is the Nice J podcast. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Nice J, and admittedly, it has been a minute since we last did a pod. Obviously, this is the first season of the podcast. We're going to chalk the last few months up to being a little too busy to work. That's not to say I've not been keeping up with all things NBA playoffs and all that. On the contrary, just haven't had time to sit down and put my thoughts down, or have been pushed to do it by what's on the court, and I had to do one. So last night the games were a little crazy between the Knicks putting up 50 on the Hawks and the T-Wolves kind of closing out their business against the Nuggets, and that's the one I want to talk about. I have recently, last 3 or 4 years, really appreciated what the Wolves do and what their potential is. They don't always reach it, but their defensive intensity and the way they can attack an offense, I mean, single-handedly the best defensive game I had seen in the last 20 years in the NBA in last year's playoffs. This year, they've been giving the Nuggets all they can handle. Both teams a little bit undermanned. They have some big injuries out. Obviously, Anthony Edwards, DiVincenzo got hurt last night. The Nuggets didn't have Gordon. I think there's someone else that'll come to me, but not a full lineup on either side. But that's not to say it still wasn't an intense battle. Rudy Gobert, this series has been incredible against Joker. I mean, I think Joker's kind of tilted the scales a little bit back to even the last game and a half or so, but Gobert did what he needed to do. Last night, McDaniels, who has always been, real long defensive menace, kind of a 3-and-D guy, though not maybe the greatest three-point shooter. When he plays the Suns, man, he just gives Booker all he can handle. He's just a really great defensive guy. And of course, last night he was like, but I can also drop 32 and win a decisive game. The fact that they won this game in 6 and not 7 without Edwards and DiVincenzo is kind of crazy. I don't know if you're the Nuggets, you look at this and go, our linchpin might just be Aaron Gordon, that he might make everything work for them. They just didn't have anything without him. Whereas the Wolves were like, it doesn't really matter who's hurt. We're just going to keep coming back. Last night they didn't have Dosunmu, who was the pickup, free agency pickup that scored 43 in the series in one game. So, the Wolves were missing a lot of players too, and probably no more important than Anthony Edwards, but they were able to figure it out. And that's probably part coaching. I think Chris Finch is a really good coach. If you watch some of the sets that they're running and how they attack defense, their scheming's really good. I think their plan for this series was be super physical on the guards, harass Murray. Obviously, you have someone who can get up into Joker's business. I don't know how Gobert didn't foul out every game playing that tough, but they allowed the physicality both ways. And Gobert took advantage of it, really got into just every time Joker got the ball, Gobert was in his space and like right up into his business, and really impressive. Just a really great series for the Wolves. I think from a coaching standpoint, but also sometimes you can see a team that has a lot of chemistry and you're like, you can have good chemistry on a bad team. That's not common, but everybody can like each other and still just not, do really well or have a lot of success in the playoffs. I think this year's Suns team probably has a lot of great chemistry, just not good enough, right? But when you see everybody showing up to the game in DiVincenzo's jersey on a team that is, I'd say, overperforming a little bit, but that's been maybe not overperforming. They've been overperforming for 4 years, so at some point they're just performing. But when you see that chemistry on a team and the distance they're putting on what was one of the contenders, I think certainly most people picked the Nuggets to win this and move on to the Spurs. When you see it, you're like, that chemistry can make a big difference. These guys like each other, and certainly they appreciate how hard DiVincenzo plays. When you play that hard, you at least earn the respect of your teammates. There's no doubt about it. So that was really interesting. But the coaching was better. Gobert outplayed Joker, at least on the one end of the court. I don't think necessarily Joker played great defense on the Wolves. So I mean, he's never been a great defensive player in my opinion. Everybody wants to talk about his MVP, but a lot of these MVPs these days are one-way MVPs, and that's my big complaint with the Shea and Doncic and Joker uh, three. Those three, man, the defense is rough. Sometimes worse than rough. I would say the only, Giannis is probably the difference. His defense is pretty solid. So, and he didn't have the year. So I guess who are you going to go with MVP? Who are you going to pick below that? So the Wolves outcoached them, outplayed them. McDaniels, I think the greatest thing for me is a lot of times when you run your mouth, you end up eating it. But McDaniels basically came out and said of the Nuggets, they're all bad defenders. Go at Joker, go at Jamal, all the bad defenders, the whole team. They don't got people who can defend the rim. And guess what? McDaniels went out there and put it to him. I think it was game 4, maybe game 5, where he went in at the end of the game, kind of put a layup in, which is sort of that unwritten rule of, the game's over, the game's in hand. You don't need to run up the score or anything, which admittedly is silly, but it is definitely a rule on most levels. And he put that bucket in and Joker got in his face, and he didn't back down. McDaniels didn't back down in the game. It was the Wolves were tougher, and they had more resiliency, and I think they just had a deeper team that was also fully experienced as a unit. Like, they've been pretty consistent for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, that lineup. I don't have to look at the contracts and see how they're doing it and see if they can continue to do it. But that's a team that's played together for a while now. With, 1 or 2 new pieces coming in, you can kind of create that consistency with the core group. Really big series win for the T-Wolves. We shouldn't be surprised. They're doing it every postseason. Maybe they get Edwards back. Maybe they get Banu back. They're going to be really tough. I think earlier I was thinking that the Nuggets would be a better matchup for the Spurs, and I certainly thought that maybe before the series started. And perhaps that's still true. Maybe I'm talking myself into, can I watch this series and not be disappointed? I think the Wolves, if Gobert can match up and sort of do what he was trying to do to Joker. I mean, Wemby's a different player. He's faster. I think plays even more on the perimeter, just stretches everything out more. Obviously, defensively, significantly better. Can they contain him on the offensive side enough? I think they have the athleticism to match up with Castle and some of the other Spurs young guys with Fox. I think they can beat up Fox a little bit. I think they can attack Castle. Castle's not going to step down either. That McDaniels Castle matchup is going to be super interesting. So maybe that's what we need to focus on. And then we'll see. I don't really know if the health issues are going to, kind of be apparent in that series against the Spurs, or if they can kind of rally. Hopefully they get Edwards back. It'll be interesting, but McDaniels and Castle, that'll be an interesting one for sure. We'll have to watch that lineup. But man, a great series for the Wolves. They've been doing it every season in the playoffs. Really, really impressive. Super fun. The other one, the crazy one, and I didn't get to see this one until later. My son had a baseball game and was watching the score, and I thought there was a mistake. Like the Knicks were up, I think 49 in the second quarter or something like that, and it was just destruction. Just a crazy win for the Knicks, but they did, they closed it out. They did what they needed to do. It seemed like the Hawks, I think they were up 11-9. But after that, it was kind of over. They waved the white flag, and that was my first thought. I was like, that's not a loss, that's a surrender. But then I saw Kenny on the, I think it was halftime or post game show, kind of literally waving the flag. I'm like, yeah, that's what it felt like. It was okay. We're good. We'll go to Cancun. I think it's been a nice season. Everybody out on the Hawks side, which is super disappointing. But understandable. The Knicks came out and did their business. They had this one play they kept running. They would get Towns on the wing at the 3-point line and do a back screen, and it was open every time. Every time that screener from the corner would go to the hoop in the dunker spot and be open on that pass from the wing and back screen over and over and over and over again. And I knew the outcome of the game before I'd watch it, but that play was like, if you can't stop that, it's pretty bad. And kudos to the Knicks. They just kept going to the well. Hey, it's working. We're just going to keep doing it. We'll do it on this side. We'll do it on the other side. We'll do it in this quarter. We'll do it in the second quarter. Got to stop it. The Hawks had no interest in stopping it. So really interesting matchup there as well in the East. One of the little things for us Suns fans, we kind of, have watched Mikal Bridges. Obviously, everybody wished he was on the team still, I think. I'm glad they traded for Durant. I think it was worth a shot, but whatever. He has never really been used well with the Knicks. I don't know. I was hoping with Mike Brown it would get better. He ends up just standing around a lot, but it was kind of cool on Thursday to see Mikal just, playing really well. He had, I think, 24 and 10 for 12 shooting, which he's capable of every night. That's kind of what he was doing for the Suns, about mid-20s, pretty efficient. Getting that little midi jumper going. Then he works his way out to three, and then when the defensive collapse or doesn't close out too hard on the three, he'll go to the hoop. So that's what his game is. I think if they can get Bridges contributing and into the offense more, they're really tough because they got Brunson with all the footwork in the paint. They've got Cat, who's a really tough big to guard. Then they've got a pretty solid defensive roster. I think the NBA is more interesting when the Knicks are good. I was happy to see them kind of take care of business with the Hawks and not let that go longer. And now the Knicks get to sit around and watch the Celtics Sixers game to see who they play, which was also kind of nutty. The fact that the Sixers with Embiid and a rejuvenated Paul George and VJ just, basically forcing their will against the Celtics last night. Now there's a game 7. So the Knicks get that winner. We hope that, or at least I hope that Tatum's not, I think it was his calf and his other leg was kind of gimpy in that game. So I hope that that's not a serious thing. Man, you hear calf injury this year, and it's been a bloodbath in the NBA with calf injuries. And I personally had a calf injury myself, so I think it's going around. I was filling in on our basketball team's practice 5-on-5 full court. We had 9 guys, so I was just sort of running with them. Pulled up my calf, so it's going around. It hurts. Haven't been able to run for a while. That was in I think late January. So calf injuries going around. Hope Tatum's better. It will be a really interesting game 7. Can the Celtics do what they've done all season, which is just kill you from 3 and have a good shooting night? If they don't, it could definitely swing the other way. If they can hit from 3, they're going to be fine. They're going to take care of the Sixers, I think. But watch that 3-point percentage. I don't think at this point they can play a different game. I think they're going to win or lose from 3. And I think that's how it's going to be. But those are the interesting things from last night's playoff games. I don't want to go on too long, but man, those 3 games really interesting. Super cool to see the Wolves take care of business. I appreciate Joker a lot, and I appreciate the Nuggets somewhat. I don't like them though, so I'm kind of glad that they get knocked out. I'd vote for Joker as the best player in the league when he plays better defense. Period. That's just how I feel about it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just miss his great defensive impact. But you'd have to give me Giannis over some of these like lazy defensive players that just sit back and put all their energy into offense. Like, it's just no thanks. It's just not my thing. And I guess the one thing we can talk a little bit more about before we go is, because I haven't, is Shea. So I've been posting a little bit on Instagram as the games go on. The Suns were outmatched. They had a bunch of injuries too. At full speed, the Suns were going to be lucky to get a game. Maybe they could hope for two, but they weren't. They didn't have Mike Williams. Grayson Allen was out for a bunch of that series. Uh, their best, ironically, their guard that gets a ton of offensive rebounds for him and hustle plays, Goodwin, who has turned into just a great linchpin for that team, was out. It was going to be a hard road to hoe for them against that really super deep Thunder team. But everybody, of course, has talked last year about the foul baiting and Shea, and I gotta say, like, that this year, such a big turnoff. He does. I will say he's super smart with how he does it. He'll kind of wing the defender's arm in against his body, and as if he's being held, and he'll push off and kind of grab the player and reach around. He does this. You know, you're not allowed to like reach back behind the defensive player as you go around them and spin, but usually that's called like around the baseline. It's pretty obvious around the baseline because you're going to be out of bounds if you go the other way. So it's like pretty obvious call, but in the open floor, they just don't call it. And it's like the same thing. It's the same illegal maneuver from an offensive player. But he has like 5 or 6 of those that he does. He falls like a leaf on every play. It's unwatchable. And that guy is obviously one of the best players in the league for sure. But you also can't deny that he's getting 10 points a game that most other players don't get. So, if he's a 30-point per game player, well, he's a 20-point, and there's 120-point per game players in the NBA. It's not special. So I don't know. I don't like it. I don't think it's good for the game. I think the way they call his game is particularly bad. It doesn't go both ways, or it certainly didn't go both ways with the Suns. Booker doesn't get those calls. Do I think Booker is as good a player as Shea? No, not now. But you give Booker 10 more points a game on his middies where he's getting hit. Guy can't get a call sometimes. So, and again, I'm not a Booker stan. If you had asked me 2 years ago, I think he was, propped up by the team, maybe a little overrated, but he's earned it in the Olympics. He's earned it on the Suns. Like, he's got his team to the finals. I like that he's loyal to the city. It's just, he's the kind of guy you want on your team. And you definitely can build around him. They overperformed this season by, a good bit, probably 50% if you were to look at what the projection was versus the 45 wins they got. But yeah, that's Shea. The way Shea is called, it just makes those matchups really, really tough. I'm not looking forward to them in round 2. I will be rooting against them every step of the way until they win another championship, and I have to be. I'll complain about it then too, I'm sure. I just think I'm just sitting down every game to go, how angry am I going to get about these calls? Like, what stupid thing are we going to see that no one else gets the benefit of? But I don't know. That's no way to watch a NBA playoffs. They're much more fun than that. It's much more positive than that for me. But unfortunately, that's kind of where I'm sitting on that side of it. So anybody, I'm a former Sonics fan from when I was a kid. So maybe that's it. Although I did like the OKC team with Durant and Harden and Westbrook and that whole crew. That was a really fun team. But I don't know. We'll see. Anybody but OKC for me. Maybe this Wolves team, this scrappy Wolves team, can kind of, band-aid together, literally, band-aid together another series win against a better team, just like they did, like quote-unquote better team. If they can be that physical with Wemby, I do think what teams do wrong against Wemby is they don't push him around enough. Like, I would have a guy in there literally to pick up 5 fouls on Wemby in the first quarter and make him feel the impact of that defense. The Suns did it very early part of the season, played a really great game against them. I think it's doable. You just have to have your bigs learn how to play a bigger player, because most of those bigs have never had to play a bigger player because they're the bigger player. And that that defensive mindset that a smaller player is used to, you have to find a big that can do it. The two Frenchmen going at each other, I don't know. Might be kind of interesting. I think Wemby's going to get the benefit of the calls because that just seems to be how things go. But I think the Wolves have a chance. That those are two good organizations that have shown a lot of professionalism and how they approach the game and how they treat players and their coaching staff, their game planning. Um, I'm stoked. I think it's going to be a great series, and maybe I'll come back without the big gap between pods this time. But hopefully you enjoyed hearing my thoughts on this. I really enjoy doing this. I'm looking at this pod to see, I have a bunch of ideas I just didn't get to this season. We'll go through the playoffs. We'll pop on a little bit, and then figure out what I'm going to do with it for next year. But I think it's going to be bigger and better. I think I might end up doing it as a video thing. I don't think my work is going to be quite so overwhelming next year as it was this year. Just a lot of things on top of each other that don't happen except for every 5 or 6 years. So thanks for hanging in there. I hope you check it out. I hope you enjoy it. Come back. I think we're gonna talk a little bit about the series coming up in the NBA. Watch them. The games are amazing. The really fun night of basketball last night, and we'll see you next time. This is Nice J for the Nice J Pod. Shoot or shoot.